All right, guys, time for another Patreon question. This one comes from The Able Geek, and they ask, what are your thoughts on digital games? Will we see less physical media in the future? And if so, how would this affect collecting? All right, great question. And to help me answer this, I've assembled a Metal Jesus crew, but we're going to start with Kelsey because, as many of you know, she is a co-owner of Pink Gorilla Games here in Seattle. That's a retro gaming store that sells physical games. So, is digital the future?
100%. Yes, absolutely. There's not a whole lot we can do to just change people's minds about technology and stop the flow of time. But I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I think, yes, of course, stuff is trending towards digital, but I think there's always going to be some vocal minority of people who are really, really attached to physical media. And so there's always going to be companies that are catering to that. You see that even with like vinyls right now. You've got all these modern artists who do like fun colored vinyls and interesting packaging and cool collector's editions and that sort of thing. And we're getting that with gaming too, with all these limited run type companies and cool collector's editions. So I think there's always going to be some level of that. And collecting in general is just going to kind of trend towards things that are made specifically for collectors. There's going to be less of the sort of off-the-shelf, collecting normal retail games if you're talking about, keeping up with modern consoles and that sort of thing. But, we're already seeing this sort of weird in-between with empty Switch cases that just have a code in them. They've done that on the Vita and stuff too. So, yeah, I think that's certainly the way it's going. Not much we can do about that, but I think the silver lining on that is in the future, all these companies are going to cater specifically to people who like to collect, and everything's going to look really cool at least.
How are you feeling? You got John Riggs here, and I love digital games. Now, if a physical version exists, I'll get the physical 100% of the time. However, I'm not going to wait for maybe or maybe not a physical version of a digital game only to be released. Like Untitled Goose Game, hey, I got the digital day one. If it comes out physical, later on, then yeah, I'll pick that up too, thanks to people like limited run games, super rare games, special edition games. More power to them. I love the fact that they're doing that to keep the preservation alive for physical collections. However, I'm not going to... I gotta support the digitals at the end of the day, because if nobody buys the digital, there may never be a physical. You know what I mean? So support digital when you can. I do. I don't count it as part of my collection, but I love playing those games. And there are some of my favorite games in recent years have been kind of, digital indie titles that have been, $10, $15 in the PlayStation Store, the eShop on Switch. You gotta keep that dream alive. You're doing great, buddy. Oh.
As far as digital games, I feel like they are pushing them more to be they are the future, but there's enough people out there that like physical copies of games that they just can't push it out and push them out. I think that there should be a price difference between both physical and digital games, so people, digital should be cheaper, of course physical should be a little bit more. But as far as it affecting physical market, I don't think so, because there's just enough out there that love the physical media.
So what are my thoughts on digital games? Well, my first thought is I love them. They make it so indie studios can release a game way cheaper. Think of all the awesome indie games that you've played lately. They're pretty much all digital. And maybe physical with things like, limited run and super rare. You might be able to get them physical at some point. But digital games also are a little bit of a double-edged sword, because they could go the way of PT. Do you really own them? Can they disappear with a patch? That I don't love, but they're also very convenient when you don't have to carry a bajillion, cartridges with you on an airplane. So there's that as well. Do I think we're going to see less of them in the future? I think so. I think, especially seeing how things like Google Stadia does. I'm really interested to see how this goes, because personally, I don't have good enough internet for it. But, that might really be telling of the future. But I think, of course, we're going to see less physical media. I don't think we're quite there yet, though. Soonish. And I think eventually it will affect collecting. But a lot of collecting is based on nostalgia. So once it becomes, digital only, I think it'll take a while to actually catch up with the collecting scene. Because if you grew up in a digital only era, what happens, when you get nostalgia and you want to go back and play what you did? It'd be really interesting to see how this goes. But as of right now, I feel like collecting the games that are already out, not even thinking about the new stuff that's coming. There's still a lot to collect, and a lot of really awesome stuff to collect. So I think it'll take a while to catch up with us, but eventually, we'll see.
So, yeah, I think it's okay if you like that. Well, you know, that instant gratification, you got your dig, and if you want to keep it forever, you got your physical, and keep your disc clean, you know? It's the way of the world. It's just the way of the world, man. This ain't digital. Total analog.
I have no problem with digital game releases, especially the Nintendo Switch. I have over 50 digital games on the Nintendo Switch. I love playing that way. Physical media, when it comes to playing, especially with the Nintendo Switch, doesn't really appeal to me if I'm on the go somewhere. I just like having the game right there on the console to be able to play. I think there is going to be less physical game releases, and it is going to affect collecting, because if less people grow up with physical media, they're not going to remember it. And really, collecting comes down to nostalgia. People pursue things that they grew up with, and so if they grew up with something digital, they're going to want to play that way versus physical. And so I think physical media is already seeing a decline, and I think it's just going to get worse moving forward. You know, and what do I think about that? I don't really have an opinion about that. It kind of makes me sad, because I grew up with physical media. Nobody likes their upbringing to go away, but it's going to happen, and I think it's going to just increase moving forward. You know, digital gaming is here, it's mainstream, but I think that physical gaming is still going to be around, and collecting. You know, I think there'll be physical game collectors around, but I think it is going to dwindle in time. Only time will tell how fast that will be.
I guess the thing that I want to add to this discussion is about archival. I remember in the late 90s and the early 2000s when I first stumbled upon abandonware websites that were archiving old Commodore 64 games, Amiga games, MS-DOS games. And at the time, actually, I was very happy to see that, because a lot of those companies had gone out of business. You couldn't get the games anywhere else unless you just happened to like find them at, say, a pawn shop or a thrift store. And so it was really cool to see those sites at the time, even though they legally did not have the right to actually distribute those online. And so I guess what I want to bring to this conversation is that, yes, I absolutely love and prefer physical media, but there is a place for digital, and that is, you know, archival purposes, because software and video games are fairly unique in that they can be perfectly digitally archived and archived for the future, where a CD or a floppy disk, they're susceptible to wear and tear. They can fail over time. And so, you know, like you hear about disk rot in CDs, or you'll hear about floppy disks that maybe were damaged by moisture or a magnet or something like that. And so I do see the appeal of digital archival, you know, purposes for this stuff. I guess the thing that I would love to see in the future, though, is the game companies themselves and the publishers see the value of that and make those available to their customers. We've seen Nintendo do this a little bit on the Wii back in the day, and that was really cool, but I'd love to see more companies kind of see the value of these older games and potentially make them available for purchase digitally. One company that I've talked about in the past that does this and does it really well, in my opinion, is GOG.com. They take old PC games and they digitally archive the manuals and the boxes and all this stuff, and they also update them to run on modern systems. I love a service like that, and I wish there were definitely more of them. So I know it's kind of a touchy subject, but in my world, I see both and. You know, I do like physical, but also I do like the fact that there is this digital option out there sometimes, as long as we, the gamers, can get access to it, and in a legal and safe way. So yeah, that's my answer to that. So thank you very much for the question. Thanks for subscribing. This question was asked by one of my Patreon contributors who help support my YouTube channel and help shape the content of my videos. In addition to asking questions like this, they also get access to a private chat. You can also set the amount you want to contribute, and you can leave or change it at any time. If you'd like to help support my videos, and become part of the Metal Militia, please go to patreon.com/MetalJesusRocks.